Many months ago, we told you that Disney would likely release an anxiety toy for children with the release of Inside Out 2. Yet not even Jonas nor myself were fully prepared for what Disney was about to bestow upon us. Folks, not only is there a plushie for your children to hug at night, the personification of, shall we say, anxiety itself, but no, if you put batteries in it, it even shakes like it's having a panic attack. We'll show you right now. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are streaming to you from a studio at Sunshine City, somewhere, USA. And we're having a good time. Jonas, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I was told I was having a good time, and that is what I expect to have.
That is the talking note you're supposed to relay. Thank you, Jonas, for doing so well. Folks,
Check
your only talking point. That's right. Click that like button. And here we go. This is That Part Place, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked, well, what are you doing? It's by me, and it's Disney begins selling anxiety toys to children for Inside Out 2 merchandise. Yes, they want your kiddos hugging up to anxiety. As predicted, the Walt Disney Company is using its new character, Anxiety, from Inside Out 2 in its forthcoming present toy lines. Whether or not parents want to purchase anxiety dolls for their children to snuggle is a different story. Can I just say, Jonas, these are words I never thought would be strung together in the same sentences, even though we've laughed about this going to be. But here it is. Here's the toy. And you folks out there, if you want your child to snuggle up to this cracked out Fraggle, you can have at it, and it'll be just A-OK. Definitely not going to cause your child to ask, hey, what's anxiety? Maybe I have that. Won't do that at all, will it, Jonas?
Oh, no. And it wouldn't be a hot issue in America. I don't know. I could play along with a joke, or I could just say what I want to say about this, which is telling children about some of these things gives them the idea that they have these things, and asking them, hey, do you have anxiety right now, is something that often makes people nervous and more anxious. Fascinating.
Let's talk about why this emotion and why cuddling up to it's different than the other emotions that were in the first movie, Jonas. So anxiety tends to be a term that leads into a significant problem, right? So it's the first word in a number of disorders, and we actually have those down here, right? So generalized anxiety, panic disorder, which is a type of anxiety, phobia-related disorders, which are part of anxieties. And so anxiety is something that can cause some serious issues. It's not like happiness. It's not just plain old sadness. And so, Jonas, the comparison I would make is, if they had attempted in the first movie to have one of the emotions be depression, and depression was an emotion, and then they released depression toys, that I think is more comparable to what we're getting with anxiety. Am I wrong in any way, Jonas?
I would say you're correct. And for those who would say that, well, they had sadness toys. Well, sadness is a part of every life, no matter how long it is. Whereas depression is something that may be a part of lives, but it's not something that you need to tell your child about, and make sure that your child is aware of how to deal with their symptoms of depression. This is
right. And so you could think about joy going into some sort of mania, right? We're not going to have one of the emotions be something that's manic. That would be weird. So it goes on every end of this. We're simply saying that for kids and for toys and for merchandising, it's kind of weird to want them to snuggle up to the personification of anxiety. It's pretty weird.
Pretty weird.
But leave it to Disney to make it even stranger, Jonas, because not even you nor I, not even with our cynical view of how this company operates, not even we were prepared for what they would actually do. I want to walk people through these items, which are available at Walmart. Of course, you've got sadness and joy, and there's the little anxiety plushies. But then there's also this one, which is literally called Shaking with Anxiety. And Jonas, I can't believe this, but you insert batteries into this toy, and it will shake as if it is having a panic attack or an anxiety attack. And it's even better, Jonas, because in Spanish, it doesn't say shaking with anxiety. It says, first of all, on the top right of the packaging, it says, hablo y tremblo, which means I speak and I tremble. And it appears to me also that's the same in French. And so it says, shaking with anxiety in English. In the other languages, it's talking about trembling with anxiety. So trembling, that really, we need some tremors from whatever it is kids are suffering with. But Jonas, would you buy this for any of your kids? Would you buy an anxiety doll that if you press its hand or whatever, it literally sits there in a corner and shakes and can't move?
No, I absolutely would not. And I do know a child, not my own, that does suffer with what would probably, if not diagnosed while she's young, as a grown-up, she would probably be diagnosed with anxiety if she doesn't have this resolved. I would also not give this to her as a like, oh, look, you can help her get through it and maybe you'll have the strength to do that. I don't think that this is an appropriate thing for a child. I really don't. And big shocker that Jonas Campbell doesn't think that something is appropriate for kids. But I think that this is something that if you were really going through the psychological health of a child, this focus in our culture on daily mental health check-ins and things like that, to where, a child should be out playing. You shouldn't be asking a child, but right now, are you sad right now? By the way, when they hand out these surveys and I'm not going to say what's on the surveys because YouTube knows that these things are not suitable for advertisers. And yet this is merchandise that is sitting on a shelf. If I were to talk about the things that sometimes young people do to themselves when they suffer from depression or anxiety, if I were to hand out a survey and say, when you do these things, do you engage in, and then list out all of those things, all of a sudden we get very informative on the things these kids could be doing to themselves to cope with their anxiety and depression. This is just, these things, I get it that there is a big focus on mental health, and there's probably some kind of catharsis that has been found for grown-ups who finally get out into the world and realize that maybe they needed to deal with some of their past issues. But often what we see is that people get over their issues when they are ready to get over their issues. They might process them, they might not, but generally finding fulfillment in some part of your life is what gets you past these things. Where causing a child to dwell on whether or not they have anxiety, I think that's...
Well, here's a marketing question for you, Jonas. If I'm Disney and they come to me and they present me, Pixar does, with this idea of these emotions, I'm going to say to them, it's going to be really, really hard for us to market that. Not sure we want to have kids snuggling up to anxiety. Could we call this worry? Because you can feel worried. Could we call this worry? Could that be an emotion? Like, I don't understand why we had to do this. Like, anger isn't rage. Like, why did we have to make this be anxiety? Why could it not have had a name that was not associated with disorder? Why do you think Disney has chosen this, Jonas? I think you were right at the edge of going there in terms of this is the kind of thing that we're doing in today's society.
If I had to guess,
we're doing?
If I had to guess, that it would probably be someone associated with a production who said that this is something that I have dealt with myself. And Disney is focusing very much on the personal stories of the people that are making their films. The entire Spark short series, the entire that's the Pixar version, or whatever the Walt Disney animated version of it is. These are all about processing the individual creators' thoughts on the world, and they're actualizing the director's stories by putting them on screen. So if I had to guess, someone very close to this production dealt with anxiety. Perhaps several people, perhaps many people working in an intense environment trying to make massive Hollywood pictures have probably dealt with this and not thought about it from a child's perspective and whether or not that's okay. But they probably had anxiety themselves and said, of course, I needed these tools, not accounting for the fact that they needed those tools by the time they were old enough to deal with those emotions.
Well, the other thing you have to talk about too, Jonas, is that with the original emotions, joy and sadness and fear and disgust and all these, like, those are appropriate emotions. The problem with anxiety is that anxiety is often what you're describing is an inappropriate fight or flight response, even when something might not be worthy of that feeling to happen. And there are those out there who have anxiety disorders, and it's no fault of their own, and they can come and go during their lives. And it's a sensation, a reaction within the body, that is miserable to experience. And sometimes folks know there's no reason that I'm sitting here in the middle of this anxiety attack, but here I am, my body reacting as if my life is on the line, and I'm just sitting here, in the office, or I'm sitting here at church, or I'm, driving down the interstate, and I have to suffer through this feeling for the time being until I can get a handle on this. There are all kinds of people who have that, and I just don't know that taking that and putting that into this is any better of an idea than if you said, you know what, we're going to make the personification of asthma, right? And we're going to make this little blue character that sits there and wheezes lurched over, and we'll sell that to kids, right? It's like, I don't think so. And again, there was no need.
I'll even take you one further. Let's make hyperventilation something that anyone can do, as opposed to asthma, which is an actual medical condition. If you tell a child not to hyperventilate, what's going to happen? Right. The chance of them hyperventilating goes up, way up, if you get them, if you introduce the concept to them.
So we are officially then, Jonas, we don't normally take official positions like this. So we talk about the Disney parks. People say, hey, do you suggest that I not go to a Disney park? And we say, well, we don't tell you that. That's not our position. We talk about the evil queen situation, which is gaining all kinds of attention right now. And people say, well, what's your position on the evil queen? And I say, you know what? I'm going to let the audience decide. I think the audience is hyper intelligent. I think they'll figure out, and apply their values to the situation. In this case, I'm actually going to go out there and make my position known, because I think this is, when it deals with kids, I'm willing to take the stand and say, with the anxiety doll guys, I don't think you need to get this for your kid. I think that's a bad idea. I really do. I have a strong feeling about that. I don't think it's a good idea to have kids being hyper conscious of anxiety. I think it opens the door to them then manifesting such a thing where they might not otherwise. Just a thought. Jonas, you disagree? Agree?
Oh, no, I'm in complete agreement. And I'm not saying that children don't need to have any tools to deal with their emotions. Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood is an excellent program for going through all of the emotional aspects that they need to go through to be a good neighbor. And I'm not saying that. Of course, I say that, and something will come out a few days later, and they've introduced anxiety into Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. I love Daniel Tiger. He's good so far, but I just don't think this is a great idea, introducing mental health concepts to kids. And there is a focus on doing this in schools and trying to get government employees to check in with kids and do mental health check-ins with kids. I think there is something to be said for allowing kids to be kids and letting them exist and just know that people care, but not asking them all of the intrusive things that need to be asked in order to find out, how are you feeling today, though? Yep.
And we're fully aware, folks, that kids go through some stuff, that adults go through some stuff, and that some of the things that kids go through are awful and terrible. And, it pains us deeply to know that all of us, but some of us more so than others, have gone through things that imprint these kinds of issues into their daily lives. And so we're not ignorant of it.
There are children who need the help of a mental health professional. That is something that I'm absolutely not saying anything against. The number of people who are intervening on mental health issues that maybe should wait before they introduce the concepts of atriogenesis. That's when you introduce something to help, but might actually introduce a little bit of harm by doing that.
That's a heck of a excellent point, Jonas. Excellent point, and well said. And folks, I'll tell you one thing: buying this doll and having your 5-year-old hug up to anxiety at night, probably a bad idea. But you know what? If you're doing this for the right reason, the right way, giving a kid a hug and telling them that you love them, probably not going to do a bit of harm, and probably will do a whole lot of good. So that's what we recommend. Mean it. Spend time with your kids and watch out for those kiddos who are having a rough time, and be ultra kind to them. Treat them like the babies, God's babies, that they are. All right, Jonas, tell the folks out there where they can find you on this great, big, beautiful web.
Well, you can find me over on the That Park Place channel, where we go over all kinds of theme park and entertainment news with myself and my co-host Vash Sky. Of course, I also am a writer for thatparkplace.com, and of course I have a channel that is called Everything Woke, where we go through some of the interesting issues that have been inserted into children's entertainment. Just trying to help parents be more aware of what's going on there.
Makes sense to me. I hope folks will go over and subscribe. And folks, if you've had a good time, at least if you feel like you're enlightened to the situation, maybe you agree with us, maybe you don't, but maybe you're a little bit wiser about what's going on, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. When you drop that comment, be a pro. We appreciate it. Folks, we will see you very, very soon. TGIF, and have a great day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
This is Wilton the Troll reporting for That's Park Place, and I'm surrounded by loving and adoring people who are peacefully trying to make sure that poor kids aren't cold in the winter. And just behind me, you can see a totally natural bonfire for baking cookies or making marshmallows.
Yeah, so, Wilson, we're really appreciate the effort and stuff, but we're looking for real and, accurate news reporting on that Park Place.
So not like most news outlets, huh?
No.